Okay, in this video, we're going to talk through the basic commands of Git, the basic concepts. And in this particular workflow using DevOps and NetSuite and VS Code, we're just using a few tools around the process, but there's quite a lot of resources out there. The basic commands are the same no matter what tools. So I'm just going to go through to one of our NetSuite projects here in Steltix. And when we get inside this project, when I go to the repos, I will be starting the process, the Git process, first with cloning. So if I go here to the repos and I want to, let's say, start on this particular repo and I want to start working on it locally, maybe I have a change request or a bug fix, I click clone. And as I said before, if somebody on your team is very command line oriented, they can use the credentials and do this on the command line with git clone and then using this URL that's here with some credentials. Or you can just clone it directly into VS Code if you give it a folder. I'm going to create a test folder here for this, and it's going to now open up and clone that repository into that test folder that I created. And once that's done, it's going to ask, do you want to open this up? And yes, I do. And then it's just a safety check that is important. Do I trust the code that's here? I do, and that's going to give the file system permissions throughout the rest of the time. So on the left-hand side here, we have our file structure. And this is actually a project that was created with the Suite Cloud tool, the command line tool that I'm going to show a little bit later in another video. But for now, this is basically about the command, the Git command. So I've cloned here, and now there's integration with inside of VS Code. There's a Git plugin extension that we're using here. That is installed. I think it's called Git Labs. Let me see. I can get you that exact one. See if it'll show me. Oh yeah, here we go. It shows me which ones are installed here, so I can see which integration. And VS Code has its own integration here on the tab on the left-hand side. You'll see here that I've got a Git lens. That's the one that I'm using. That I've got source control built right in. This is the one. So if I make a change to any of these files, I'm going to go here. I'm going to open up one of the files in the source directory. We'll tour this more in another video, but I'll just go to any one of these files and make a small change. I'm going to add a comment, and I can't add it inside of a test, so I picked the wrong one. Let me just do it in here. Okay, I'm going to save that, and immediately you'll see on the left-hand side here that I have indication in my source control that something has changed. And from here, I can make all kinds of decisions about that. I can right-click and open the changes and see them. I might want to discard them right away if I know that they're wrong. I might want to ignore them. But typically, we want to commit them, and so I can stage them for a commit. That's the first part of the process. So I have changes that I'm happy with, I've checked them over, and I'm ready to stage them. That will automatically put them into a staged status. And then after that, I can commit them. And in order to commit them, I've got to actually give it a message. So my commit message, for instance, would work. But typically it's something about the task that you're working on, something about maybe the code change that you made. And then once you do the checkbox here, that actually makes a commit, right? And then I can actually sync up these commits down here at the very bottom. You'll see here that it's got a little Git integration. I'm on the master branch, and you can see here that all I need to do is press here and it will sync back, and this is because I've set up that security from the other. I can't push directly here to the master branch. So this is an example of why we have that set up. So I can't just accidentally push to production code. And so that's a good sign. But if I was on a different branch, I could easily come here and create a new branch. And let's just create a new branch and call it my test. That's going to give me a new branch down here on the left. And now I can, well, I have to do a few things to push this up to my remote, but you'll click here, you'll see it starts a process, and now it's going to sync that branch, and I can go back now into VS Code. I'm sorry, out of VS Code, I can come here into my branches of this repo, and you'll see my test is now a branch. Now, one other important concept in Git is that this code that's stored here on the Azure DevOps servers is always referred to as the remote. And then all of your code that you're working on locally, and they're also repos, but they are local. So often, whether you're using these or not, or you're using a command line, you're actually pushing your local changes to the remote, and that remote would be the master branch or whatever branch you want to. Typically, you push to your branch, my test, and then you come into here and you say, okay, I've updated my branch. Now I want to create a pull request, and that pull request gives you a commit message at the beginning. I could also edit that and say my test pull request. I can give it a more detailed message. If I've got many commits, it'll also put those commits in here, which is helpful. I can then find other reviewers in my organization, and then I can look for open work items that have been assigned to me that are still open, and I can assign them there. I can create tags that will also help me filter them in the future if you've got a project with lots and lots of pull requests. And then once I create this, it will automatically notify my approver, who will then get this email link directly back here where he can come and then see what files have changed. And then if he's satisfied with it, he can approve it here. He can approve it and make suggestions, or he can wait, he can reject, he can reset, or he can autocomplete. And essentially, I'm going to abandon this one because obviously I don't want that little comment to just be merged, but this could be any number of changes that I've set. And you'll see here that it now goes into abandoned status, and that is the cycle basically. We merge it back into master, and then we can delete the branch, and then we've gone the whole way from a task that created a clone of a new branch locally. We made some changes, and then we push that back on another branch and we merge it in. That's the full Git cycle.